everybody, JenniferMaker here. It's a beautiful day to light up your imagination. Today I'll show you how to create amazing lampshade silhouettes that transform a regular lamp into a surprise scene when you turn on the light. These are so cool and I can't wait to show you how I made them. While the lampshade silhouette may be a mystery until you turn the light on, learning how to make them won't be, because I'm going to show you every step so you can enjoy this fun effect too. So to create our silhouettes, we're going to use white permanent vinyl, which I'll cut out using my trusty CricketMaker 3 cutting machine. But you can also use the original Cricut Maker, any of the Cricut Explorer models, even the Cricut Venture for this project. Or if you have a smaller lampshade like this one right here, the Cricut Joy and the Cricut Joy Extra would also work well. So along with my Cricut Maker 3, I'm going to show you first how to cut your vinyl on a 12 by 24 inch green standard grip machine mat. And then later I'll show you how to modify the design to fit a 12 by 12 inch machine mat. Okay, so now you might be wondering, why white vinyl instead of another color? And that is a great question. So when I did my test, I found that white was the only color that looked hidden when the lights were off. See? Or rather, see how you don't see it? So in this video, I'll first demonstrate how to prepare and apply this cute barn scene right here. I love barns and we're going to build one on our new farm someday soon. I'll apply that scene to a straight-sided lampshade like this one. But what if you have a tapered lampshade? Preparing the design does require a few more steps, but I'll walk you through the whole process using this pretty dahlia design right here, just like this. And you can also personalize it with a name. Then I'll show you how to apply the vinyl in sections to accommodate the taper and the curve of the lampshade. And since we're mixing it up a bit by applying our vinyl to the inside of our lampshades rather than on a typical flat surface, there are some important things to consider when applying your transfer tape to the vinyl, and I will share my best tips on that later on. So, are you ready to make some awesome silhouette lampshades? The only thing left is to get you my free designs. So let me tell you where to find them. Step 1, get my silhouette lampshade designs. You can download the free designs at JenniferMaker.com/509. You can either download right from that link by saving the project or download from my entire free design collection. To find it, look for libraries in the red bar at the top and then click either get a password if you don't yet have one or click enter the library. Search the page for design number 509 and click the link to download the designs. I will show you how to cut the vinyl for these lampshades using a Cricut cutting machine, but you could use any cutting machine really, or even cut them by hand if you needed to. So let's start in Cricut Design Space. If you're not sure how to upload, go to JenniferMaker.com/SVGS to learn how to unzip and upload SVG files. There are 5 main designs in the folder: dandelions, tulips, dahlias, and a barn scene with a ground layer that is good for straight-sided lampshades. Plus a barn scene without a ground layer, which can work for either straight side or tapered shades. I've also included a toolbox with extra elements if you need to expand a design for a bigger lampshade. Project number 1, barn scene with ground on a straight lampshade. Step 2, prepare your design. The barn scene with the ground is perfectly sized for a straight lampshade in my materials list, so it's all ready to cut. But if you're using a different size straight lampshade, you may need to resize the design. To check, use a flexible measuring tape to measure the inside circumference of the bottom of your lampshade. Hold the tape measure just above the lower inside seam and wrap it along the inside of the lampshade. Check the height too, just in case this shade is shorter than mine. To give you an example, if this lampshade was only 20 inches around on the inside, instead of about 23.5 inches like mine is, we need to make the design smaller. To do this in Cricut Design Space, select the design and make sure the lock icon above the size fields is closed. Then enter the inside measurement for the width field at the top. I'll enter 20. Now check that the height is smaller than your lampshade so the whole design will fit. I recommend leaving at least a 1-inch margin around the design to make applying the vinyl easier later on. Now, if you're using a tiny lampshade, a really big lampshade, or a shade that's perhaps an odd shape, I recommend skipping ahead to the tapered lampshade project later in this video, where I'll teach you more about customizing the designs so the vinyl fits on your mat and on the lampshade. Since I'm actually using a 23.5-inch lampshade, I'll just hit the undo arrow to get back to the original size. Once your design is sized correctly for your lampshade, make sure the correct machine is selected in the top right and then click Make It. If you're prompted, click on Mat and it will default to a 12 by 24 inch mat because the design is so large. If you don't have that size mat, skip ahead to the next project in this video where I'll show you how to modify the design to fit on a 12 by 12 inch mat. But I'm going to use the 12 by 24 inch mat, so I just click Confirm. On the Prepare screen, click the mirror toggle to the On position. This will ensure that the design we see on the outside of the lampshade will look just like the design on the screen. And then click Continue. On the Make screen, click Browse All Materials and search for the Premium Vinyl Permanent Glossy setting. Select it and click Done. Then select More Pressure to ensure a nice clean cut for your vinyl. Place your first piece of vinyl shiny side up on a 12 by 24 inch green standard grip machine mat, using a brayer to adhere it really well. When using the longer mat, your Cricut will need a bit more room to move the mat in and out of the machine while it's cutting, so be sure to give it plenty of space. With your cutting blade in the clamp, press the flashing button to load the mat, and then press the flashing button to begin cutting. When it's done, unload your map, flip it over onto your work surface, and curl it away from the vinyl to release it. Step 3. Apply your cut design to the lampshade. I recommend working in a well-lit area to make it easier to weed the vinyl, and also to align the vinyl inside your lampshade later. Use a weeding tool to remove the excess vinyl from your cut design. If you have any problems seeing the cut lines well enough to weed your vinyl, I've got a hack for that. Check out my faux etched wine glass tutorial over at JenniferMaker.com/510 to learn how. The excess vinyl can be hard to handle. It helps to trim excess away as you weed the design so it doesn't get stuck to itself. Now, before we go any further, let's make sure our lampshade is nice and clean. Use a microfiber cloth or something else that's lint-free and a little rubbing alcohol to remove any dust or debris or pet hair on the inside of the lampshade. Vinyl always sticks more easily to a clean surface. Now cut 5 pieces of standard grip transfer tape, each about 8 inches tall and 4.5 inches wide. Then cut 5 pieces of parchment paper, about the same size as the pieces of transfer tape. Remove the backing from the first piece of transfer tape and curve it into a U or taco shape. Making sure you have at least 1 inch of transfer tape below the bottom of the design, place the tape on the center of the vinyl where the barn is. Now, it's important to have this extra inch of transfer tape exposed because it's going to help us with placing the design inside the template. Remove the backing from the next piece of transfer tape and apply it next to your first piece. It doesn't matter which side. Make sure the tape covers the whole section, including vinyl pieces in the sky of the scene. Try not to place the transfer tape so that it only partially covers part of a design element, like a tree. This can make transferring more difficult, so if needed, use scissors to trim the transfer tape so that it only covers full sections of vinyl. Keep going until the entire design is fully covered with pieces of transfer tape. Burnish the transfer tape to the vinyl using your scraper tool. Now turn the design over and carefully peel away the vinyl backing. If the vinyl backing becomes too large to work with, you can use scissors to trim it away from the design. Place the sections of parchment paper over the vinyl the same way we applied the transfer tape. Make sure the vinyl is covered, but leave the bottom part of the transfer tape showing, the part where no vinyl is attached. This will allow us to position the transfer tape and tack that blank part in place before the vinyl sticks to the inside of the lampshade. So this is really helpful. Make sure the lampshade is upright and in the correct direction so that you don't accidentally apply your decal upside down. Applying one continuous design to the inside of the lampshade does take some patience, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So be extra careful not to stick the vinyl to itself, and then start at the ends with the horses and gently roll the design long ways into a cylinder with the transfer tape on the inside and the parchment paper on the outside. Then, with the design the correct way up, position the rolled up vinyl inside the lampshade like this. Center the barn in the front center of the lampshade. Use the bottom of the ground in the design as your guide to align the design along the bottom seam of the shade. When the ground looks even with the bottom seam, press the transfer tape into place and hold its free edge down with one hand. This prevents the transfer tape from moving when you remove the parchment paper, which could result in a crooked design, and we don't want that. Now with your other hand, gently remove the piece of parchment paper covering the barn, wiggling it back and forth to help it detach. Leave the other pieces of parchment in place for now. Once the parchment paper is off, make sure the design looks straight and then use your fingers to press the vinyl into place. And then carefully remove the piece of transfer tape. Now move to one of the sections next to it. It doesn't matter which one. Again, align the ground layer along the bottom seam, keeping it even with the first part that you applied. Press and hold the edge of the transfer tape in place and then remove the parchment paper. And then press the vinyl onto the lampshade and remove that section of transfer tape. If you see any little bubbles in the vinyl, don't worry. When the lamp is lit, these will not be noticeable. Repeat these steps to finish applying the rest of the design to the shade. And there you have it. Place the shade onto your lamp, add a bulb, and your barn silhouette lampshade is finished. Project number 2, dahlias with personalization on a tapered lampshade. Step 2, prepare your design. Here is the dahlias SVG file on my Canvas and Cricut design space. If you want to add a personalization, click the text icon. And then click the font menu drop-down. And if you're using a downloaded font, don't forget to click System to find it. Search for the font you want to use. I'm using a font called Biosha Script, but you can use whatever font you want. If you need any help downloading and installing fonts to use in Cricut Design Space, check out my tutorial over at JenniferMaker.com/fonts. Double-click on your text box on the canvas and type the word or name you want. This time, I'm making this lamp for myself, so I'll add the name Jennifer. The font size at 72 looks good to me. Hold the Shift key on your keyboard, select the dahlia layer and the text layer, then click Align and Center. Then, with both still selected, click Attach. Leaving the lock icon closed, I'll change the design's height to 4.5 inches, since the tapered lampshade is a little smaller. This will make the width about 13.7 inches. This works great because leaving a margin at the top and bottom of the lampshade makes applying the vinyl easier later. And then I'll click Make It. If you're prompted, click On Mat, and then the 12 by 24 inch mat size will be automatically selected. And this works if you have a 12 by 24 inch machine mat, but I have a workaround if you don't. So if that's you, just go ahead and click Cancel and return to your canvas. Select the dahlias and the personalization, which are already attached, and then click Combine, and then click Unite. With the United design still selected, click the Duplicate icon. On the canvas, click and drag the duplicate away from the original. Now click on the Shapes icon on the left and select a square from the Free section. Since we're cutting down a smaller design for a tapered lampshade, I'm going to just resize my square to 9 inches wide by 9 inches high in the size fields. And then with the square selected, I click the color box and select white, and then I click Arrange and Send to Back. Place the first dahlia design over the square. I'm going to position the square so that its right side covers the left 3 dahlias and the personalization. The right edge of the square should go through a mostly blank area in the design, and the other edge should be outside the design. If you can't get the entire edge of the square along a blank area, that's totally fine. We can fix that later. Select both the square layer and the dahlia layer and click Slice. Drag the layers apart so you can see them. Delete the sliced square layer, the section of the dahlias on the right side of the design, and the white flowers and personalization layer. The remaining slice section is about 8.5 inches wide. See the partial dahlia here? Now this would be tricky to transfer, so select the layer and click Contour. Click on the sections of the partial dahlia to hide them. Then click the X in the upper right to close out the Hide Contour window. Now add another square to the canvas and size it to 9 by 9 inches. Change its color to white and send it to the back of the canvas. Align your square to slice the 3 right dahlias in the second design that you duplicated before. Make sure the square is under all 3 dahlias, meaning the left edge of the square will go through the personalization. Select the square and the design, and then click Slice. Delete the undesired slice results, and then use the contour tool to hide any parts of the personalization that are inside the slice result. If you're making a larger lampshade and need additional design elements to fill the full size of your design, upload the Toolbox SVG and add it to your canvas. You'll find elements for each design that you can add if needed. Cutting your vinyl lampshade silhouette. When you're ready to cut, click Make It. Since we sliced our design, it now fits on a 12 by 12 inch machine mat. Toggle Mirror on, and then click Continue. On the Make screen, click Browse All Materials, search for and select the Premium Vinyl Permanent Glossy setting, and choose More for the pressure. Continue on to cut your vinyl and remove it from the mat. Step 3, apply your cut design to a tapered lampshade. Now I'll show you how to apply the dahlia design to my tapered lampshade. The same technique I'm about to explain will work for any of the designs, but if you're going to use the barn scene on your tapered shade, be sure to use the SVG without the ground for an easier application. Okay, so first, use a weeding tool to remove the excess vinyl from your cut design. Then clean the inside of your lampshade with a microfiber or other lint-free cloth and a little bit of alcohol. Cut a piece of transfer tape that is slightly larger than the largest top center dahlia. I found that I got the best results when I worked from the center of the design outward, which will be on the front of the lamp. Remove the backing from the transfer tape and place it over the top center dahlia. Burnish the transfer tape onto the vinyl with your scraper. Remove the vinyl backing away from the transfer tape. Find the front center of the lampshade and place the flower slightly to the left of that, with the flat edge along the top edge. Remember that your lampshade designs are mirrored, but you can really place the pieces wherever you want, of course. But if you need guidance, just refer back to the design on your canvas in Cricut Design Space. All right, so using your scraper tool, gently but firmly burnish the vinyl to the lampshade. Now peel back the transfer tape. Follow the same steps to place the bottom center dahlia slightly to the lower right of the shade center. Be sure to leave enough space to add the personalization between the 2 center flowers. Continue this same technique with a personalization piece. Continue to apply the remaining dahlia pieces staggered around the lampshade. Step 4, show it off. After you place the lampshade on its base and add a light bulb, watch the magic happen when you turn on a light. I just love how these look, don't you? I just love how the silhouette is hidden until you turn on the light. It really dresses up a plain lampshade and it turns it from kind of boring into something really unique and pretty, don't you think? Okay, so once you have the process down, you'll be able to design your own silhouettes to closely match your decor or your favorite themes or your characters. Whatever you want, there are really so many possibilities with these. If you have any questions about working with vinyl, transfer tape, Cricut Design Space, or anything else Cricut or craft related that you think I can help you with, please let me know. Just leave your question below this video or come ask in our Cricut Crafters group at JenniferMaker.com/CricutCrafters. And please be sure to post your pictures too. I would love to see all of your amazing secret silhouette lamps that you create. And don't forget that if you don't have a Cricut cutting machine yet, I give one away free every month. You can get all the details and find out how you can win a Cricut cutting machine at JenniferMaker.com/Cricut giveaway. And that's it for today. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.